The year 2008 will never be forgotten. This was the year sprinting changed forever inside the Chinese capital. Jamaica won its first gold medal in the 100-meter at the Olympics, and they did it for both males and females. Since that year, the United States has failed to grab a gold medal in the event at the Olympics, and only 4 times of a possible 12 in the World Championships over the last 12 years. It is no question that USA's dominance has shriveled over the last few years, despite still producing immensely talented sprinters. How did a country that was once unchallenged in sprinting and athletics on a whole become this fragile in the key events? Back in 1896, when the modern version of the Games began, there were not a lot of nations participating. It began at 9 countries that gradually grew, and during that time, the United States had more athletes than any other nation competing in the sprints. That higher number improved the possibility. It definitely played a role, but was not all, because the United States was more advanced than other nations, seeing that they began having trials in order to choose their national representatives as early as 1908. At that time, other nations were not as concerned to find who truly was the best athlete they had available. The implementation of the collegiate championships in 1921 opened even a bigger gap between the United States and other nations, because it was through these championships that some of the most lethal sprinters of those times came to being. The likes of Jesse Owens, Ralph Metcalfe, and Tommy Smith came through the collegiate ranks. While the system became a big part of the country continuing its dominance in the sport, it also served as a source of its downfall. For the individual athlete, the competition stood for 2 main purposes. One, it served as a great way to get into college, and also a way to make it to the Olympic Games. For the institutions involved, though, it was about winning. Hence, recruitment was a key part to their success, regardless of where the talent was, inside or outside the country. This aided the other nations at the time, especially the ones who lacked resources to develop. Jamaica benefited even from the first Olympic Games they went to in 1948, seeing that Herb McKinley, the silver medalist from the men's 400-meter that year, was already an NCAA champion. The resources they provided was not the killer blow in the United States' dominance. It was, however, the inspiration that came as a result of developing stars from other nations. Take sprinting powerhouse Jamaica, for example. The stars of the 1940s being Arthur Wint and Herb McKinley, especially Herb, who was a true superstar of his time, inspired athletes inside his own country. He was born inside the country, and somehow with this sport became a global superstar. As a result, the high school championships, which had begun as a small event between 6 schools, grew with participation from schools all around the country. That's what slowly began the rise of Jamaican sprinting. And in the meantime, the Soviets were on the other side of the world, preparing to engage on the track with their rivals of the West. We saw the rise of Marina Zarova, Valery Borzov, Viktor Markin, among others. The rise of the Soviets in the 70s through to the 80s was a notorious period for sprinting and athletics on a whole. However, the United States still managed to pull through, taking control of the 100-meter and 200-meter world records in all that time, though, something was building, because people like Donald Quarry and Lennox Miller were learning from the best and inspiring the younger generation inside their country, leading to a great revolution in the late 20th century, which blossomed in the 2000s. This is why those behind the success weren't as shocked as the rest of the world to see the small island producing top-level talents who could perform on the biggest stage. From Usain to Melanie Walker, they produced regardless of the event. The key factor is not that Jamaica came to take over. It is the fact that they made other nations think differently about the sport, inspiring other countries. And as a result, we have seen a rise in Asia over the last few years due to systems put in place to develop talents. And we have seen a re-emergence inside Europe, leading to Marcel Jacobs' win at the Olympic Games in the 100-meter, and the Italy team grabbing the 4x100-meter relay. We are seeing track and field become a sport where people are starting to realize it doesn't matter the nationality, and they just might have a chance as anyone to make it on the podium.